G'day there guys, we are 1/3 through 2021 and what the hell, where has the time gone? It's your main man Markee here to provide you with some more distractions. Welcome back to another episode of r/AmITheA hole. By the way, #1 Mark Narrations fan right here, sit back, relax, chuck a prawn of the Barbie, and get ready for some bloody good content. Thank you. Posted by user ScholarStunning1206, titled, Am I the a-hole for asking my sister to give up her seat because my pregnant wife needed to sit? So yesterday, my 32 male, wife, 31 female, our 2 kids and some extended family went for a walk in the mountains. I say walk instead of hike because there were several trails that didn't involve actually having to hike. All went well until we stopped at a rest spot. My wife is 5 months pregnant and is damn well determined to keep active before she gets too exhausted to do so. The rest spot only had one small bench to sit at to stop and rest for a minute, and the family, except myself, my wife, and my father, all took turns sitting. My sister, 20 female, sat down for a few minutes with our daughter while everybody got pictures, and I asked her if she could stand up because my wife's back was bothering her. My sister refused. Just to make it clear, she has no back issues, leg injuries, chronic pain, etc. She told me that if my wife's back hurts so bad, then she should have sat down first. My wife told her that she wanted to be polite and let everyone else go first. My sister said that your pregnancy isn't my problem. And our mum got the mum look on her face and told her to stand up, so she did. While my wife was sitting down, my sister came up to me and said that being an entitled victim wasn't a good look for my wife and I told her that she'd already had a few minutes and it was my wife's turn. She replied that it was unfair and that she really felt sorry for my kids, and I snapped at her and told her that it was her future kids that should be pitied. The group started moving on, so our argument was cut short, but now I can't stop thinking about it. I'm not going to bring it up with my wife because I don't want to upset her, but I can't stop wondering if we did act entitled. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. I did ask my sister to give up her seat for my wife, which may have come across as entitled and rude. Look, I want to go not the a-hole, leaning on everyone sucks here for this one. There were plenty of other people sitting down at the bench, and by the way you've phrased this, more than one person can sit at a time. Yes, your sister should get up for your pregnant wife who isn't as able-bodied as the rest of the non-pregnant group, but why target her specifically? Surely there were other people sitting down at that time and a rotation of others that could have let your wife sit down before that. It just seems like we're missing some of that justification here in your story, and while I don't think you're an a-hole for fighting for your wife's spot on the bench, I do think you were somewhat starting a fight intentionally with her. In the end, I do think not the a-hole because if you hadn't, perhaps your wife wouldn't have a seat. So I think you've done the right thing here. It's just muddy. Now in the comments, One Mike Nation says, everyone sucks here because this is where I'm lost. Your wife is pregnant, but when you got to the rest spot, everyone else took turns sitting down before her, and you waited till your sister sat down to tell her to get up. It's your wife's turn. I mean, if your wife is 5 months pregnant, why weren't you so upset at the numerous people who sat down before your wife? Yeah, I agree with this. The sister was rude, but it doesn't make sense that they waited until literally the last person sat down for the pregnant woman to be able to sit. The sister also shouldn't have to have a chronic disability to be tired and want to sit down. OP and his wife should have advocated for her to sit first, or at least earlier in the rotation. If you read it properly, the wife was being polite, and the sister had been sitting there for a bit. It wasn't an automatic sit down and get back up. It sounds like it was meant to be a quick break, so a few minutes per person is fair. So why did her politeness end when the sister sat down? Let's be real. Groups of adults go out and everyone sits before the pregnant one, and you get mad at the last person who sits down to show respect to your wife? He should have said that to the person who sat down first. Also, OP said that she was sitting for a few minutes, but unless someone was sitting there with a stopwatch making things absolutely fair, I don't think he should determine when her time was up. The wife's politeness didn't end. Her back probably started hurting more from standing in one spot while people sat down. Been pregnant before, have you? OP was just looking out for his wife, and his sister was an a-hole about it, and he replied in kind. Again, the sister got to sit with OP's daughter for a bit. So unless OP was being an a-hole to his daughter, then having a quick few minutes between everyone shouldn't be such an issue. It gets frustrating when you're single and have no children to always be the one asked to give a room, give up a bed, give up a chair, etc. One Thanksgiving, I was the only non-parent and non-minor. There was no seat at the table of 30 people for me because I kept getting asked to give away to others until there were no chairs left. Literally everyone was sitting to rest for a few minutes, then giving the seat up for someone else to have a turn, except OP's sister. Sister decided nobody else deserves a rest. How can anyone give any judgment except a resounding not the a-hole escapes me? It really seemed like the sister had some kind of axe to grind with OP and his wife, so went out of her way to bait them, then tried to gaslight them into feeling guilty about a perfectly reasonable request. Honestly, the sister sounds unhinged. And Savage Ink Studios says, not the a-hole. Any decent person without a physical disability would just plop their butt on the ground instead of using the only chair when there's a pregnant woman present. Getting up from sitting on the ground is a task for a pregnant person. Thank you. I felt like I must have lost my mind when reading all of the above posts telling OP everyone sucks here. She's pregnant. Stop being the a-hole and let her sit for 5 minutes. It's just being a decent person. Not the a-hole. This is the absolute weirdest set of judgments I've ever read here. OP says the sister had been sitting for a few minutes, and apparently no one has the reading comprehension to realize that he didn't ask someone to stand right after they sat. OP clarifies of his own accord that his sister has no obvious ailments because that is exactly what Reddit would ask, and Reddit promptly assumes that he thinks only people with ailments need help. Reddit says this too, while somehow failing to register that we do have an individual who needs extra care here, his pregnant wife. They also dismiss that pregnant people can be polite and let other people sit first. Not the a-hole at all. Jeez. Our next post is by user Winamdoes, titled, Am I the a-hole for putting ugly, one-way mirrors on the windows facing one of my neighbors because I saw the husband looking in my windows? So I live in an apartment on the ground floor of a house that was converted to apartments. My neighbors, one street over but the back of their house faces the back of the house I live in, can see my whole backyard and vice versa. My apartment has a whole wall of windows that are on the back of the house. It's gorgeous, and is a big reason I picked the place. I love keeping plants, and it lets in a lot of light. Looking out, there is the neighbor's backyard, which is large and comes up close to my place. The property line is maybe 10 or 15 feet from my windows. Once it has gotten to be warm out, I've noticed the husband of the family who owns the house looking into my apartment a lot. Even sometimes I'll look up and see him, look away, then look back minutes later, and he's still looking. So I started shutting the shades during the day, but that was kind of annoying. My place is a dark, cramped shoebox without the windows open, and I can't do that for too long because the plants were struggling without light. So I bought these window coverings that make windows into one-way mirrors. During the day, when it's light out, my windows look just like mirrors now. From the inside, it looks pretty much the same. The windows look tinted slightly darker, but that's it. From the outside, you can't see in at all. It looks exactly like mirrors. The section of windows it's applied to is about 8 feet high and 20 feet wide. After a week of the window coverings being up, both of the parents from the neighbor's house came to my door and wanted to talk to me. The wife was complaining about the windows for a lot of reasons. 1, they were ugly. 2, it was uncomfortable, especially for the teens and their friends, to have a huge mirror adjacent to the swimming pool. It's at a time that they feel insecure about their looks, and they've lost interest in hanging out by the pool. 3. In the afternoon and evening, it was reflecting a lot of extra sunlight in their backyard. They couldn't enjoy eating dinner on the back porch with the sun in their eyes. I said sorry about the inconvenience, but I wanted it for privacy. They both pushed back on that some, and I said that I needed privacy because of the husband's staring. He started denying it in front of his wife, and so I took out my phone where I had taken pictures and sent it to my group of friends, and showed her a couple of pictures of him gaping at my apartment and the texts from that time. He got mad and said he incidentally looked over, and the 8-foot by 20-foot mirror was a crazy overreaction. I said that I'd like to keep it, and that I was sorry, but frankly, this was unavoidable. I think they're both mad because they called my landlord, who then brushed them off. Am I the a-hole for putting the mirrored film on my windows? I'm going to go ahead here and assume the wife called the landlord with the husband after she saw evidence of him being a peeping Tom, and that she supports her husband here still. That's some weird coping mechanism to double down, but if that helps her deal with the reality of her creepy husband, then who am I to expect different, I guess. It's unfortunate that the kids have to look at themselves in the mirror whenever they swim, and that they wouldn't just see themselves in the reflection of the pool anyway. I don't know, isn't it weird how water works like that too? The other two reasons are just as stupid though, I'll admit. I'm also surprised here that tall fences haven't made good neighbors, but perhaps the neighbors have a very big house with lots of places from him to stare from? So again, yikes? Those two whack jobs gave no genuine and actual reason for OP to remove the film. What OP was doing was not malicious at all, and I'm more so just left confused after all of this. My vote is not the a-hole. Now in the comments, Throwaway96 says, "Not the a-hole. You proved that you needed the privacy because her husband is a creep and they're upset for being called out. You don't owe them anything, and if your landlord hasn't contacted you about it, then you don't need to do anything that you don't want to." He's only mentioned offhand that he got a call from the neighbors. He brushed them off, saying he didn't care, and he just wanted to know how they got his number. I said I didn't give them his number, and that maybe they found it on one of his listings online. That was it. But did you explain the situation to your landlord so he knows what's going on? Many of the comments here are condemning you for being a renter and making trouble for the people who actually own their houses. But if you're not breaking any laws, and your landlord is fine with what you're doing with their property, for the sake of your comfort and privacy, which is the key point to why you put those windows up in the first place, then you do you. Loved that you even took pictures of the husband staring into your window on more than one occasion. Renting or owning shouldn't make any difference. Privacy is precious. Right? What an elitist view. Only people who own their homes deserve privacy, and owners get to be creepy without consequences? Lol? It's so gross. There's basically a whole generation or two of people who can't afford to buy a home and are forced into renting due to no fault of their own, i.e., due to 1980s onwards economic policies. Those people should be able to treat the place they rent as their home and as a private space. I had landlords who once used to just barge in whenever they felt like it with no notice, and when we pointed out they weren't allowed to do that by law, they got extremely angry because it was their house. It's like, yes, you're lucky enough to own this property and to make money off me living in it, but this is my home. Everyone deserves a home. And a huge part of having a home is not having to deal with intrusive people coming in or staring at you all the time. Hazaru1001 says, "Not the a-hole. You only put it up because he was staring into your window. Whatever his reason, that's pretty creepy. Especially since it seemed to be happening a lot. Tell them you'll only consider taking it down if they put up covers on their property, which stops the husband from being able to see in your window. If they don't like it, then too bad. Any complaints from any other party who doesn't like it should also be directed to the peeping husband." Exactly this. I wish OP had said how the wife reacted to the photos. Betcha creeper husband had slept on the couch that night. And OP replied, she actually jumped to his defense, saying that when houses are so close, Sometimes you end up looking towards neighbors' houses, but not trying to. Just looking off into the distance, thinking probably. Yeah, he was thinking real hard. Ugh, I've made myself uncomfortable. I know this isn't the popular opinion here, but I would say everyone sucks here, only because there are other types of privacy window coverings that you could have picked that aren't mirrors. You're punishing the entire family for something the husband was doing. Having a whole 8-foot by 20-foot mirror shooting sun into your yard would be incredibly annoying. And OP replies, I couldn't find anything else that would do all three. 1. Let in enough light for all the plants. I have a lot of houseplants that need partial or full direct sun. 2. Leave the windows transparent looking from inside. My apartment is small and dark and looks very cramped when the windows are obstructed. And 3. Block visibility of the inside of my apartment fully during the daytime. Our next post is by user Throwaway231859, titled, Am I the a-hole for making my girlfriend go to bed early? So I'm a working student, 27 male. I combine working full-time with getting a uni degree. A lot of my free time is consumed by going to classes and studying. I always have to find the right balance between time spent on working and studying and time spent with loved ones. Most importantly, my girlfriend, 26, who I've been living with for 2 years now in our small one-bedroom apartment. My girlfriend has a hard time accepting I can't always spend as much time with her as she would like. So in the beginning of this year, I started getting up early at 6 a.m. to be able to study for about 1 hour before having to go to work. This quickly became untenable for 2 reasons. 1. My girlfriend is a big revenge bedtime procrastinator, which basically comes down to her wanting to stay up late during the week, until about 1 a.m. And 2. I have sleeping issues. I have difficulties falling and staying asleep. This causes me to be unable to sleep before she's in the bed beside me. This sucks, but I really can't help it. I just know that if I fall asleep, I'll wake right up the moment that she enters the bedroom, and then I won't be able to sleep for hours. Going to bed at 1 a.m. and waking up at 6 a.m. results in about 5 hours of sleep. Exhausting and just plain unhealthy. A few weeks ago, I changed course and stopped the early morning studying. To compensate for that, I started studying at least one day of the weekend. The first time I did this, I hadn't talked this through with my girlfriend, and she became upset when the weekend came, and I told her I would be studying the entire day. So at that point, I promised her I'd be more clear towards her about which day of the weekend would be spent on studying. Last week I told her I'd be studying on Sunday. She's cool with that. And then Sunday comes along, and she starts asking me if I want to go to the park with her. At first I refuse, but then she starts getting really upset and tearing up, and I felt like a dick. So I came up with the following deal. I'd stop studying, spend the day with her, and spend more time with her during the weekends. From her side, she'd have to promise that we'd be going to bed earlier so that I could start studying in the mornings again. My deal included going to bed at 11 p.m. And she agreed. We spent the rest of Sunday together because I didn't have to work on Monday, and we didn't have to go to sleep at 11 p.m. that day. But then Monday night, yesterday, came along. At 9:30 p.m., she wants to put on a movie, and I tell her fine, but you remember our deal, right? We'll probably not be able to finish this movie if we go to bed at 11 p.m. And she puts on the movie anyway. When the clock reaches 11 p.m., we get into a huge fight. She starts complaining about the fact that I'm treating her like a child, that she's a grown-up who can go to bed whenever she wants, that I'm being super unreasonable, that she never thought I would actually ask for her to go to bed at 11 p.m., and now I feel cheated. This argument is still going. Am I the a-hole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. I think I might be the a-hole for asking my girlfriend to go to bed early, something she does not want to do. She feels like A, I tricked her into agreeing to B, something totally unreasonable. If either A or B is true, then I am the a-hole. More generally speaking, this is just a compatibility issue. You've loaded your plate up so high working full-time and studying that it doesn't leave much space for you to sleep and socialize with your girlfriend. The best solution here is you two sleeping separately until your stint at university is finished, but realistically, that may not work out for you either. People need that affection and intimacy, and I get that. You seem to set clear solutions for your time problems that you face, and she then emotionally manipulates you to do what she wants and feels that she needs in the relationship. If she agrees to your compromises, why can't she work with it and compromise like you need to in relationships? Sleep deprivation is an absolute killer, and she's contributing to that by keeping you up till 1 a.m. every weekday. That's not sustainable, and is going to lead to bigger and bigger fights over time. Reddit advice is to break it off now before that happens. Realistic advice is sleep in separate rooms on weekdays and finish your intimacy before 11 p.m. The way you're handling the situation right now leads me to believe everyone sucks here because, like everyone else is going to say, you can't force someone to sleep at 11 p.m. and getting mad at them, even if you have good reason to, is an a-hole move. Find a better compromise. Now in the comments, Corn Porridge says, everyone sucks here. She shouldn't have agreed to a deal that she had no intention of keeping. However, you can't give your adult girlfriend a bedtime. I understand that it disturbs your sleep to not go to bed at the same time, and that sucks, but frankly, this is your problem to figure out. Edit to add, overall, your girlfriend sounds a little immature and unreasonable. However, I'm not here to judge your entire relationship. I'm here to judge this one conflict, and in this one conflict, you both suck for the reasons I've stated. I don't think that OP should be setting a bedtime for his girlfriend either, but he did state in his post that he found a workaround to this problem. He no longer studies in the morning, but then must study one day in the weekend, and his girlfriend didn't respect this either. I study full-time and work full-time as well, and this is a huge load to take on. And unfortunately, not everyone can afford to study and not work. He needs to study at some point throughout the week/weekend, and girlfriend needs to respect this time. I honestly would say not the a-hole. You have a point. OP was trying to solve a problem, not be controlling. Still, his solution of a bedtime just was never going to work, and he shouldn't have tried to enforce it even if she agreed to it. Frankly, I think a better solution would be to set a clear and firm boundary about his need to study and to not give in to her manipulation tactics. I agree completely. I would feel extremely uncomfortable with my partner enforcing a bedtime with me and can understand why she felt like he was treating her like a child. There definitely needs to be some boundaries set for the study time though. Under normal circumstances, I would agree with you, but we're talking about two adults in their mid-20s. If she can't respect his study time, offering a bedtime as a compromise is a reasonable thing to do, and by accepting that offer, I believe OP has every right to state that they are going to bed at 11 p.m. This isn't enforcing child measurements on his girlfriend. This is trying to make her hold up to her part of a verbal agreement, which she should be capable of at the age of 26. So, to be clear, 1. You work and attend school. 2. Your success in your career pursuits ahead are directly tied to your success in the classroom. 3. You are very organized and diligent in your studies and the rigor that you employ to accomplish those studies. And 4. You have a live-in partner who A. refuses to respect your academic commitments, B. manipulates you on a regular basis because she can't find ways to occupy herself, nor keep her fragile emotions in check, and C. gives zero shits about your career trajectory and potential success, which are tied to your academic achievements. Based on the foregoing, you are breaking up with her and telling her to move out in 1, 3 days, 7 days, or the end of the month. While I do agree, I think it's important to understand that OP's girlfriend sounds like she just wants to spend time with her partner and is not getting that need fulfilled. If she's unhappy and is not comfortable being by herself in the relationship 90% of the time, the relationship may not be tenable. I really think this is mostly no a-holes here. Their needs and lifestyles don't match. Clearly not the a-hole. She's just selfish. She wants it all. Your time, her schedule for everything, doing what and when she likes it, without compromises to support you. That's really a red flag. If you love your partner, then you support him and don't guilt trip him for studying, etc. You should figure out if she's worth it if you fall behind your studying goals. Alright guys, I think that's where I'm going to end today's video. If you need a good laugh, please do check out my second channel, Markee 2, links down in the description below, or it's going to appear somewhere on the screen here at the end, little bubble with my face on it. As always, a big shout out to my Patreon and channel members. Your faces are surrounding me right now, and I love to have you guys with me, and down in the comment sections of each and every video, and just knowing that you're always there to support me. It's a humbling and lovely feeling. And rest assured, I do see you, and I do notice your support, and I thank you every day for being here and helping me along this journey. Not much else to say besides that, guys. Thank you for sticking around to the end of the video. I do hope that you have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to. I will see you in the next video, and thank you again. Bye.